Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to this session on development sector. So my name is Rajgopal and we have Ashok here with me.
My name is Ashok Sircar.
So very happy to have you all for this session. Let us make it as interactive as possible. Asking your question, I'll explain that before we start taking your questions. Let me first introduce Ashok to you. Ashok has been working for 31 years, spanning the corporate sector, the development sector, and also teaching and training. For the last 16 years, Ashok is deeply involved in development action and studies in India, especially in the domains of program design, planning and execution, monitoring, evaluation, research, policy advocacy on issues of local governance, land rights, and of course, livelihoods. Ashok is Director, School of Development here at Azim Premji University. Uh, Ashok has been born and brought up in Santiniketan, Tagore's legacies. Uh, Ashok, before we start, I do have also a lot of questions to ask. This is a topic of personal interest to me as well. Uh, could you give a brief introduction when we say development sector, a meaningful life's choice? I'm also reminded of the article that you recently wrote on the need for people to work in this sector. Could you give us a brief introduction on the sector, Ashok?
Okay. Uh, so when we talk about development sector, the first thing we recognize is that we all dream of a better society for ourselves, our children, our grandchildren, and our neighbors, our relatives, and all that. So the whole idea of this sector gets born out of that dream that we all strive for a better future for humanity.
Yes, sir.
Now, how does it translate into actual work and how to transform and build a society that we all strive for? That is the work of what nowadays is called development sector. Now, a better society cannot we cannot achieve if people are hungry. A better society we cannot achieve if people are undernutrition. A better society we cannot achieve if there is so much of violence. We cannot achieve a better society if our government, our systems, institutions, our education does not make us grow as a better human being. So the work of development sector is to learn and understand what are the challenges humanity faced historically and also at the present time, to dream and to see how we can achieve a better society. Now, if we come to the context of India, for example, which is 15% of global population, 1.3 billion people. In another 20, 30 years, we will be having the highest number of population in the world, beating China. And we are only having, let's say, 7% of the world's resources in terms of our land. In India, we have the huge challenge of transforming from a past which was mostly in the villages and in the forests, and slowly building a society which is definitely half urbanized. At the same time, we cannot think of forgetting our villages, our agriculture, our fruits, our horticulture, our people in the forests, the tribes, the Dalits, the Adivasis, the women, the people who work to earn their daily meager earnings, walk 2 kilometers up to 4 kilometers just to fetch a bottle of water. We see a huge amount of challenges before us. The program and the sector is about addressing these challenges. The importance of this sector also comes from an important global recognition that we need to build a sustainable society. So just last year in September 2015, 190 countries came together in New York and signed a commitment to themselves that they will achieve another 15 for in another 15 years certain goals, which nowadays we are calling sustainable development goals. And it's also backed up by 169 targets that they are committing ourselves, we have committed ourselves to achieve. These goals and targets span the issues of employment, issues of education, issues of equality between men and women, issues of having peace in the society, issues of having a truly meaningful life full of cultural values and all that. So the question then becomes is, okay, we have given ourselves this commitment. How do we translate into action?
Right.
And that is where the need of the sector is. The sector, if we have to achieve these goals in another 15 years, just to take in India, not to talk about the world, we would be needing tens of thousands of people working with government, in government, with government, in the corporate sector, in different foundations, in different non-government organizations, in various kind of missions. We have missions of education, we have missions of health, we have missions of urban renewal, we have missions on rural livelihoods. So tens of thousands of girls and boys, young professionals are going to be needed to work on these huge number of challenges that we face as a country to be in the future. This is a sector where it gives work. At the same time, it gives a meaningful life, because you are not working only to earn a living and only to be happy at the end of the day. You are also making efforts to make others happy. And that I call is the beauty of the sector. The beauty of the sector lies in the fact that you are bringing home your salaries. You are working for your family to raise your children, but at the same time, by your own work, another 100 children are getting raised and getting a dignified life.
So you said the well-being of the self is coupled with the well-being of so many.
Exactly that. Well-being of myself, my own satisfaction, my own anandam, my own joy, my family's joy, linked with another hundreds of thousands of families' joy and future. I think that's where the
It's very good. Ashok, thank you very much. I think that was a good introduction for people watching us who joined us late. Ashok had just given an introduction about what we mean by development sector, a meaningful life choice. So if you want to ask questions, please type your questions on the Hangout window. People are watching on YouTube or other means will not be able to ask questions, but if you want to ask questions, log into the Hangout window and click that Ask a New Question and click Submit. Ashok, that reminds me of my interaction in one of the colleges. Was talking about the sector, brief introduction about the sector, where someone student asked me, do I need to learn so much? I have the passion to go and work in the development sector. What is there I need to understand?
No, that's a very good question, because the students that we interview for taking admissions into our courses and program, I find almost 100% of them come with a lot of passion and fire in the belly to work for others and to make some change happen in their neighborhood, in their own village, or in their own township, or in their own city. And they ask the same question, that how much learning is necessary for me to be able to make a real change. And we tell them that, look, no matter what you learn, your passion still has to be with you all the time. Having said that, you need to learn certain basics of how the challenges of health, nutrition, livelihood, peace, violence, gender violence, child labor, bonded labor, issues of environment, issues of climate change have been studied, and what are our key messages from those studies. So the learning is to really understand the concepts, the key messages the actual experiences of people who have worked in this sector earlier than you, that is your learning that you carry with your passion, and you then start the work. So that's what the learning is about. The learning is not a dry, theoretical, philosophical, and exotic learning. The learning is grounded in making changes happen in people's life.
But how are the programs on the development program here when they go through? That's designed with some theoretical foundation courses. That's how it's built, right?
Yeah. So the development program and then the MA education program builds on the basic theoretical framework that has a couple or maybe 3 or 4 basic elements. One is the element that change is possible. Human action, singular action, individual action, collective action, action by government, action by non-government organizations can make change happen. So one of the theoretical frame is that how these has happened. The second theoretical frame is that we all believe in a human, just, and a fair society. So what are those questions of humane, just, and fairness? How does it translate into people's lives? Is my fairness unfair to you? Is a justice for me is unjust to you?
Yeah.
Those are the theories that actually form our framework. And the third is that you also have to learn by doing. You only cannot learn by reading books.
Yeah.
So particularly both the programs, MA Education, MA Development, and also Public Policy program, has a basic tenet that you have to learn a few things from the books. You also have to learn a lot from actually doing and bringing the experience into the classroom. Right.
So that's what you're talking about, blending theory with field practice.
Blending theory with field practice is the program actually has a very intricate way of blending theory with field practice. For example, on every Wednesday in the programs, students will go out and do some field work. They will go out in the town, they will go out in the city, they may go in the market, they may go in a police station, they may visit a school, they may visit a government hospital, and they will start understanding how those institutions and systems work. That apart, in each and every semester, after the first semester, they go out and stay in a context, whether it is a rural context or a forest context,
Right.
or in a slum, they stay for a while. And then they understand how people are living, how people are working, how people are making their lives. And then they bring that experience. And then again, they have to do 2 more field practice components. One is called internship, where they go actually and work in an organization and try to work in an organization and see how the organization is trying to make change happen on the ground. And then they have to think of their own. They have to think the last part of the field practice is to think of their own and see what they can do, either a study or a project or even a film or even writing a training module, what they can do to really transfer their own learning into some actual product.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's around 16 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, throughout the semester.
Yes. Yeah. So each semester is 15 to 16 weeks, and then there is a break, and then again another semester. Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and with some more questions. I'm just waiting for. I think that our viewers are just joining. You can see many people joining now. So if you have questions, type in. Otherwise, I do have some questions that we've received offline.
Okay.
From a couple of them were sent through email. So somebody has done engineering or bachelor's in science in agriculture or fisheries or pure science. The question that I get asked most frequently is, if I come and join the sector or do a development program here or elsewhere, am I changing my track? It's mostly the pressure is probably coming from their peers and parents. So how do we answer them? How do they blend their knowledge
So,
gathered here.
right. So now that's a very, very interesting question. Let's say that engineers, is it a question, is it a valid question to say that, okay, if you are engineers, you will only have to be in the factories, or you will only have to be in the engineering offices of drawing, and or you are, if you are a civil engineer, you have to be doing some bridge and
Yeah.
or a monument or things like that. So let me take the engineering example, which is very, and I also come from a science and engineering background. For 16 years of my in first part of the life, yeah, the young part of the life, I was doing electronics out of that matter, and not only doing electronic software, but I was doing electronic hardware. So let's say how things are important. Engineering is important for in development sector, right?
Yeah.
Let's say that you have to think of a home which is energy efficient. How you make a home energy efficient? You have to think of the different kind of bricks. You have to think of different kinds of ventilation. You have to think of sunlight. You have to think of how you use your less electricity. That's huge architectural engineering design.
Yeah.
Secondly, if you have to think of water supply in a particular area, you have to think of how you can make a water supply work for every season, even in drought season, even in summer, even in deep winter. That's an engineering question, but also that is a social development question.
That's correct.
Because the water supply has to be equitably available to all, irrespective of whether you are poor or you are Adivasi or you are a middle class person. If you look at, for example, agriculture and fisheries, they are part and parcel of India's development sector, because 65 to 69% of our population is still dependent on agriculture. The food you and I eat comes from that crop.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
So to make those lives, you need agricultural technologies, you need agricultural inputs, you need agricultural knowledge that has to be applied in a social context where people benefit and not only companies benefit. So there is, it is a change of track in some way. You are not in the factory, you are not in a seed company, or you are not in an agricultural machinery company, but you are in the company of people.
Right, excellent. And the knowledge is also being used.
Your knowledge
Knowledge is being
is
used.
very much coupled with the social development knowledge.
Correct, that's correct.
And then make that applying instead of just making an agricultural machine. You think of it as an agricultural machine which a woman can run. That's what social development and engineering couple.
Fantastic, fantastic. I think, thank you, Ashok. I think that's a good one.
Yeah.
Some questions coming in. Roopsi Garg, I'll take your question first. Roopsi is asking about the practicum tasks that are linked with the courses. As to where do we go for weekly practicum in development program?
Yeah.
And so I think she has, meaning it's a vast area, depending on public health, nutrition, livelihood.
So depending on various courses, you will go mostly in the practicals because it is in every week. You have to go to in and around Bangalore.
Yeah.
But sometimes we also take people outside of Bangalore. Sometimes we take them to Kerala, sometimes we take them to borders of Tamil Nadu, sometimes we take them to northern Karnataka. Now, depending on if you are looking at a health issue, you go to a hospital or a primary health center or a district dispensary. If you are looking at an education issue, school education issue, you go to a school or an office of an education department. If you are working in a livelihoods arena, then you go to a market, you go to vegetable vendors, you work with women flower sellers, you go to and see a restaurant, how a restaurant is running. So depending on what your course is and what your course requirement is, people are sent to various areas. The question that comes is the challenge of language.
Right.
What we found is that there are multiple ways these challenges we have addressed. One is that you're not going alone. You're going in a group in which somebody will be knowing Tamil or Kannada or Telugu, which are the dominant language here. The second thing in Bangalore, particular, is so interesting is that many of the people that you will see in and around are actually migrants from other states. So many of them will speak Hindi, many of them will speak Odia, Many of them will speak Marathi and even Bengali.
Correct.
Even in some of the northeastern people, you will find them here. So we never found this practical language challenged in any way. And it's very exciting for the students.
Yeah,
actually, I have seen the students love going out and trying to learn from the field. Yeah.
So, but if it's a course-related practicum, that's going to be something in and around Bangalore, like if it's an ecology course, looking around the lakes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that could be.
Yes. Yeah.
Rupsi, hope that answers your question. But if there is a follow-up question, please do ask. Uh, I'll just take Shweta's question
Okay.
next, where we talk about development sector, a growing sector, upcoming sector, where we need a lot of people to work. But the question is that people still feel the IT or and the other sectors are the only logical career choices. I think we briefly discussed before we went live.
It's also a question of what is a dominant narrative. I should not say narrative. What people generally understand as the lucrative career choices is also given what you are told by the media, by your peers, by your friends, by. Now, if you look at the overall, it is true that the IT sector will give you certain, definitely certain good career. We are not denying of that. The question is the difference between what you get in the IT sector and in the development sector is that in IT sector you are almost working like a code. You are working like a formula-driven person. You work like, if you have seen Charlie Chaplin's Modern Times, you will understand how people have become almost like a half machine. And in a sector where you even don't know who your client is, what is your client doing, whether he is making an atomic bomb or whether he is making a bicycle for the disabled people. So, in one way, the society is also sending signals that yes, IT sector is definitely good, but there are other sectors that more people are needed in. And it's also people like you and me and Rajagopal and people like us who have to go out and tell the world that you have equally a meaningful life choice.
Absolutely,
Where
agree.
on the very first day, you may not get an equal level of salary with an IT sector guy, but you also have to realize that more than half of what we know as IT sector are in BPOs, where they are getting nearly only 10 to 15,000 a month, whereas in our displacement last time, our average is 35,000 a month, kind of thing.
That's right.
So there is an image that gets created that IT is very lucrative, but there is also always some darkness just under the lights.
I think nobody's speaking too much about the opportunities in the development sector as it's been done.
It's also about how much people are talking, speaking in the media, in the newspapers, in television, in public square, in public debates about the opportunities that exist.
In fact, I did because I was related to myself what I was doing 3 years back, working, having come from the IT sector. When I look at the starting salary that the NGO sector is offering, the development sector is offering, it is as comparable as what you would get in the IT sector, if not more, and uh, it's meaningful work that you're doing in the sector.
Absolutely.
And there's absolutely no comparison with what you do in IT, but still that's good. But Shweta, thanks for answering that question. It's for the society to decide.
Yes,
whether they
we
want
do
it,
need IT. There is no doubt about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
The question is, we also need other things in life to make our future better, and particularly at this juncture, make our children and grandchildren's future better. And I am saying in a very selfish way, because I am thinking of my grandchildren, where she will get water from if she is in Bangalore, for example.
Yeah.
Right. Or if she is in anywhere in India, for example.
I think that reminds me of what you said previously, that engineering, I mean, the quickest thing they do is let's drill a bore well and get water.
Yes.
But if you start ask questions about, is it sustainable? Can I still get water from the same bore well after 4 years, or forget 4 years, after 2 years?
2 years, yes. Yeah. I think the important thing to understand is that there are more engineers needed in the development sector and then probably in the engineering sector, because the growth in the engineering sector has been less than 1%, whereas the growth in the development sector has been more than 10% every year. And you need more engineers there to fix many other problems that we are seeing today, right? So engineering is definitely a good thing to do, and then come to the development sector is another very good thing to do.
Absolutely.
Right.
Rinchan, I'll take a question next. Questions are asking about the field engagement. Whether can we choose where we go for the field engagement after consulting with the faculty, or will we have to stick with what's been given?
You have both options. In the internship, there are 3 field engagements. One is called immersion, where you will be going where we will be sending you. That's for 2 weeks to maximum, 15 days. That's in the very first semester. Thereafter, in the internship, in the between the second and the third semester, and in the field project, there are 2 options. One is that you can choose where you want to go. If you have a very special interest, we would be very much encouraging you to do that. However, it's not always possible that everybody knows where to go. So we have the second option, that we will help you find a good place to go and good place to gain your field experience. So both options are extremely open and very much welcome.
Thank you, Ashok. Rinchan, hope that answers your question. So both options are available. Ajit, I'll take a question next. I think that's something which I also want to ask. What is the career path for someone who starts as a fresher, or somebody who's out of college, then joins the...
So typically, if you are looking at the development sector career path, you start essentially you will start essentially at a role which is more at a district level, trying to work in a development program, either in a government or in a semi-government or in a non-government organization. And then you start gaining experience of actually working with people and trying to change their lives in a very small way. As you gain experience from the district and the level below, in 2-3 years' time, there is a possibility that you will go into a managerial role where you will have to manage a segment of a full program.
Okay.
Then, thereafter, in 5 to 7 years, typically you will go over into a role where you will be asked to design and plan a new program.
Design and plan a new program.
A new program, a new intervention. For example, you may have to think of design and plan about how you improve what we call child mortality, or how you improve where women will be able to deliver babies without the child dying or the mother itself dying. So, or you may have to think of, let's say, an outbreak of polio one more time. So you have to design a program of how to change those things. Or you may have to design a program of, let's say, how you improve agricultural laborers' work and wages. So at that level, from between your joining just after your college, just after our finishing the program, to between 5 to 7 years, you'll be in a position where you will be half implementing and half planning. Thereafter, there are roles which may take you to research, may take you to advocacy, may take you to design large campaigns, may take you to do implementation and monitoring, may take you to do evaluation. So first 5 to 7 years is one pathway. Then in 7 to another 7 years is another pathway where you will have to think of where do I want to go. At the end of, let's say, 10 to 12 years or 13 years, you are either a deputy head or even a head of a program, at a program level. And then the next another 10 years, which is, let's say, another 10 or 9 years or so, you may land up in running a very large program. You may run up in multi-state, running a multi-state.
When you say programs, is it programs which are designed by the government? Because we hear a lot of missions, rural health mission, livelihood mission. Are you talking about those programs, or program designed by the NGOs or organizations you're working?
A very, very good question. You may be in the programs which are in missions.
Okay.
But you may have to think of a district level planning. You may have to think of a state level planning.
Okay.
That's one. The second is you may be in organizations which are international development organizations, working in India, working in, let's say, in multiple states. And then you think of a program where, for example, now there's a lot of interstate migration taking place. People are going for work from one state to the other. Now, there are lots of challenges associated with migration. Where will children get admission? Where will you get a health card? Where will you get a ration? Where will you get a safe place to stay? Where will you get if there are so now there is no such program now on a bigger scale in India to provide migration support. If you are a girl, then you have more challenges, right? So you may have to think of designing a program of migration support, for example. In another 5 to 6 years' time, I'm seeing that that kind of program will come. Then there are issues about climate change impacting our lives.
Okay.
You may have to be asked, you may be asked to design a program of how you reduce climate change in a state level activity. So you may have to work with international development organizations. You may be working with lots of CSR foundations now, corporate social responsibility foundations, which are working to make, for example, how you make girls cross the middle school barrier. Girls are crossing the primary school barrier, but the girls are not crossing the secondary school barrier.
Right.
How you dropouts are higher. How you make that possible? Let's say if you are in charge of a district, how you make that possible? So those kind of questions will be asked, and then you may have to provide a program. You have to think of design and planning, and then fund, and even influence government to sometimes come with a program.
Interesting. Good. Ajit, hope that answers your question. But if still there is a follow-up question, we'll be happy to take. Before I take the next question, Ashok, you were talking about program planning, designing, implementing, evaluating, monitoring.
Absolutely.
So, do we cover that in a Masters in Development program, giving those kind of?
So we cover in multiple ways. One is that we have core courses which talks about development skills.
I'll tell you why I'm asking this question.
Okay.
Because I was just quickly looking at we are doing a hangout on placements next week. But I'm looking at the roles. Most of the roles are like program officers, program managers. So there's something in the program that is giving them those capabilities.
So we have a course on development skills where you are taught how to evaluate a program. There is a specific course on program monitoring and evaluation.
Course on program.
Absolutely, full course on program monitoring and evaluation. There is a specific course unit which is about program design.
Right.
There is a course on about thinking of problem analysis, how you analyze a district problem, and then come out with a solution. Right. So there are those kind of competencies. Those courses are run in conjunction with courses which are more social understanding type courses. How is caste playing a role in a community organization? You may think that I have done a good program, but you will end up in understanding that the lower caste and the Dalits are not getting the benefit. So it is run definitely across coupled with those kind of courses. Our students are getting placed, and I'm sure next week we will have a session on that. It's because our students are getting well placed, I see, because they're not only learning a lot of theories, but they're also learning how to translate those theories into real ground action.
Fantastic. Okay, got it.
I think that it's not that they're learning fantastically, because that's now it's 2 years program, it's not possible. But they're learning the threads. Right. They're asking the right questions. They're asking the right way of thinking. Right.
I'll take. Thank you, Ashok. Umaima's question: emphasis given to ecology in the development sector and the future prospects for the same. Thank you. I think.
So we
sustainability is a specialization.
we have a full core course in the very first year on ecology and development. That is a 4-credit course, and then we have a complete specialization on sustainability, part of which is to understand how ecology is getting affected, and also what we can do together to make this change happen. So that specialization has courses on urban ecology, specialization has courses on rural ecology, specialization has courses on urban-rural interface and how the ecology is changing. So there is a lot of emphasis on ecology in the program. And in fact, in overall the image development program, if you are asking, it is built on a principle of sustainability. It's built on a principle of how we make our future sustainable. Question of where are the opportunities? Interesting opportunities are coming up where there are intersections of sustainability and ecology with livelihoods. There are intersections of where health and ecology are. For example, if we may say so, for example, this whole whole idea of use of let's say your food products. In what way the use of different food products by middle class people is impacting the food chain,
Food chain, all
food
right.
chain and your body. And then how is it related to newer kind of diseases? Those were not there 10 years ago, for example, right? Obesity has become a problem in India just about last 15 years.
Yes.
So these are issues where health and ecology are getting clubbed. There are issues about water, for example, water in an urban context, water in a rural context. So there is a full course on water ecology. So we have lots of, and then there are lots of scopes in organizations that are trying to build sustainable, let's say, energy systems.
Okay.
There are organizations who are building, let's say, watershed managements.
Right.
So those are organizations where ecology students are going. Yeah.
Thank you, Shogum. I hope that answers your question. Yes, there's a lot of importance for ecology in the sector. I'll take Rupsi's and next question is asking, how can we participate in the making of policy, law, and governance in this program? I didn't quite understand, Rupsi. Are you asking whether this program will give you ideas to be part of policy making? I think that's what she's trying to.
If you are saying that, I mean, how can we participate in the making of public policy, law and governance in this program? See, the emphasis on in the law and governance and public policy in our university is to understand how policies are made and how the state governs the society and human conditions. Now, overall emphasis is this, but what is the critical emphasis? The critical emphasis in this program is to understand in what way the policies are not addressing the challenges of our society. And why is that? And a lot of emphasis is given about on participation of citizenship. A lot of emphasis is given about how public discussions can make policies better, how systematic research can make policies better.
Yeah.
So when we are saying that you are undergoing this program, what you are getting competence at or competent at is your understanding of where research is needed, where more discussions are needed, where more diversity of opinions are needed to get a sense of it. Those competences are coming in when you are undergoing this policy and law and governance program.
Got it. Thank you. Thanks, Ashok. Oopsie, hope that answers your question. I'll take that's a good question from Sailesh. They're asking. It's not talking about the program. It's talking about the university. Asking him, does the university conduct any studies or research by its own to help local government bodies or society in a larger basis for where the development sector is concerned? So he's given an example also.
So I mean, a number of research projects are going on in the university. For example, there are a number of projects going on improving public health outcomes. For example, improving infant mortality, improving child malnutrition, improving nutrition in schools. Then there are a number of research going on about the education, school education and development interlinkages. Does developmental questions like questions of poverty, malnutrition, questions of livelihood impact school education? And also the reverse, whether school education is improving their livelihoods, their health, their anemia of the women, and or malnutrition of the girls. So those interface, there are researches going on. Then there is research going on water, on particularly Bangalore water conditions. There is research going on. There is research going on how to make the Bangalore municipality better.
Yeah.
So there is a research going on. So interesting, different researches are going on in the university.
Shailesh, the quick answer is yes. We do. We do. It's not, I mean, of course, the degree programs are, that's only one part of what the university is doing. But
Sure.
besides that, a lot of faculty are involved in conducting these research.
In fact, I can just add one more line. an independent study where he can study a particular problem from various angles and study what can be done. He can do some field work to get his data. So it is completely under a good supervision of faculties. That's part of also, that's kind of a research element in the study, in the program itself.
And on the program, in the second semester, they go through a compulsory introduction to research course.
Yes.
Yes, an option of doing an advanced social research.
So there is a compulsory course for everyone to understand research and what research means, what are research questions, how to frame questions, how to study, how to do research, quantitative, qualitative, ethnographic. Then there is an advanced component, which is an elective.
Yeah.
So if somebody is really deeply interested in the research, and then there is also a component on evaluation. For example, if really somebody wants to use various research techniques to evaluate a program, so there is a course on that. Right.
Shailesh, hope that answers your question. Okay, thank you. Thanks for asking. It's a good one. Anubhav, I'll take Anubhav's question next. A larger question. So many laws, rules, and regulation, but not implemented in the same spirit as the point he's trying to make. What can be done for changing? He's trying to talk about the government system. How do you work with them? I think
I think this is a very good question in the context of today's India, where we have excellent policies and laws, but when it comes to the question of how to make them work for people, there are a lot of uh, challenges about how to make them work for the people. I think the emphasis in our program is to make the students realize while lawmaking has its own challenges, there are a huge host number of independent implementation challenges, part of which is about changing government's own mind. And we have to understand that government is not one individual. It is not the prime minister. Government is a huge body of people from the street to the district to the state, huge bureaucracy. And changing government's own mind is itself very much part of the implementation challenge. And then the question comes, how to change people's mind about safe use of safe drinking water, for example, or use of electricity prudently, for example. So those are coupled questions and combined questions which are in common. So those are certain things which we definitely have attention to in our programs, definitely.
thank you. Thanks, Ashok. Hope that answers your question, Anubhav. I think I was asking. Uh, that reminds me of another question, Ashok. We're talking about what are the challenges that you foresee for somebody who's working or somebody who's going to change from a corporate to this sector? What do you foresee any challenges?
Oh, okay.
In the sector?
So I think your question is, if somebody is coming, having worked a little bit in the corporate sector for 4-5 years, 2-3 years, and then taking a plunge into this kind of a sector.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's back.
Back.
Oh,
Sorry, folks, we're back again. For those who are, yeah, who those who are watching us,
yeah.
sorry for the
There's a
small
low
break
error.
that we had. Just wait for a couple of minutes. Our technical team is working to.
Yeah. I think we're back.
I think we're back. Great. Sorry,
Great.
sorry for the small break.
Thanks. Yeah. So the question that Rajagopal you asked is about this shift from corporate sector to taking a plunge in the development sector.
That's correct.
I see a couple of challenges, and I'm before I talk about the challenge, I can very much say with a lot of confidence that those are not insurmountable challenges. Those are basically a challenge that you have to be aware of, and you have to work on it. The first thing that is a challenge that in the corporate sector it works on a system of command. It's a system where your supervisor is going to tell you what to do, and you have to do it because there is something that is at the end of the day there is a production, or there is a product, or there is a sale, there is a purchase, or things like that are have to be ensured.
Yeah.
So it is based on a system of command from the top, and you have to follow the command. So that's one way people are habituated when people work in the corporate sector. People are much more organized and target driven, that every month I have to produce certain things. It's very much a style of work which I would call it a kind of a formula based work.
Right.
Whereas in this, the part of the challenge is taking people with you, and taking people with you not as if you are their commanding officer, but as if you are their own colleague. So there is a lot of emphasis that has to be given about consensus building,
Right.
about building a shared goal, about trying to understand different perspectives and different opinions, different thought processes. And the contexts of development are so open-ended, whether you are in Chhattisgarh, or whether you are in Manipur, or whether you are in Kerala, things are so different that a simple one kind of a command structure is not going to work. So that talks about, that reflects on the nature of how you organize your work.
Right.
The second is, I think in this sector, since you are working with people, and not the people of your kind, which who you see every day in your house, or in as your neighbor,
Yeah.
people of a different kind who are not that privileged, who are coming from a lot of disadvantaged backgrounds, there is a very important thing called humility. That is absolutely essential to be successful in this sector. There is a requirement of a complete openness to understand those people's perspective. You may be working with on child labor, you may be working with an HIV patient, you may be working with age-old people, you may be old age people, you may be working with Adivasis, you may be working with slum dwellers, you may be working with construction workers. So you are in a various different kind of environment where humility is one important thing that one has to look into. And the third, I think it's coupled from both the first and second,
Yeah.
is about openness,
Open.
about uh, trying new things. I describe it as much more imaginative. You have to be imaginative much more. In a corporate, in an industrial structure, your role is extremely defined already. You have to perform the role.
Where is it? How did you get the? Okay, you get the Sorry, we are back again. There was a we're answering Sailesh's question of
Yeah. So
challenges.
there is a wider recognition necessary in our country that sustainability
Yes.
coming. Stop broadcast. See, those again. Control room.
Extremely sorry, folks. We had a bad internet connection. It's dropping on and off. Very, very sorry. I'll just continue with the question that Shailesh asked about
Yeah.
the challenges.
So
that
I
we
was
face.
saying about the importance of getting a wider recognition in the public sphere and in the public debates, that sustainability has become equally important for us, as much important as it is in a country like United States. There is generally a belief that our country still needs a lot of economic growth and we can forget sustainability and ecological sustainability and environmental sustainability and even social sustainability, for example. Those things can wait. That is still a very flawed way of thinking, because uh, our land remains the same, our people are increasing, there is definitely challenges on resources. So that wider recognition is the first thing. Second thing, what is important to look at is to understand policies in our country from a sustainability angle. And then when we start doing that, we have to think particularly of our agriculture. We have to think again about the way we organize our agriculture. Okay. We have to think again how we organize our water systems. We have to think how we organize our food, because there is already a lot of issues that are coming with respect to food. So a lot of things we need to think of if we really want to, if we have, once we have agreed that sustainability is a very important thing to do. And there is then a lot of work, particularly I would consider water, agriculture, and food.
Yeah. Thanks, Ashok. I think that was. I think there were some more questions coming in. Ansita, if you could help us read those questions. We have missed those questions that you typed in between. If you could type, Shailesh, I thought you had a follow-up question as well, which we could not. So let me read your follow-up question. I'll take Mr. Mahendra's question next, Ashok, wherein is asking what is the definition of the real term development? He's asking, probably should have been the first question. And what is happening in today's scenario? You kind of explained now it's more of economic.
So giving a one-line understanding of development is difficult, but if you have to go do that for a lay person or for a person who wants to understand it, I think it is a search for improving human and societal conditions, and also now also a search for having our earth sustain us for hundreds and hundreds of years. So development is no longer a question of generating economic wealth. It is no longer only a question of generating income. It is a question of improving human conditions of all people, irrespective of class, caste, race, untouchable, disabled, all kinds of people. And it's a search for having a desired future human society that is more humane, that is less, that is full of peace and joy, and that is full of creative human endeavor. So human beings can be extremely creative and need not spend their whole life only thinking about how to gain food, or need not think only about how to have more goods and services in my personal possession, right?
Thank you. Thanks, Ashok. I think we'll have almost, the time is there. We have spent around 1 hour. Uh, Thanks for the session, Ashok. Thank you all
Thank
for
you all. Thank you
watching,
all.
and thanks for sending those
Thanks.
very, very interesting questions.
Very good questions.
Absolutely.
We all like them.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And sorry, absolutely sorry, we had a small technical flaw in between, but if you feel we haven't answered anything, do write in. Email us at admissions@apu.edu.in. So we're back again next week. We'll have 2 hangouts, in fact, next week. Wednesday, we are doing one exclusive on to talk about placements. So placement cell is a student-led thing. So we'll have a couple of members of the placement cell answering your questions on the opportunities, how about the placement process, what kind of, we just recently the semester 4, the second year is where the placement is happening. So we have one on Wednesday on that, and the Friday we have been getting a lot of emails that we never did anything on public policy and governance. So Sri Krishna has agreed to do one on Friday evening on talking about the master's program in public policy and governance. Till then, goodbye and good luck.
Goodbye and good luck, and see you very soon.